coming to other objects, you need a usage privileges. So when we are talking about these privileges, see now I have a table A. So if I want to query the data, I need a select privilege. Grant select on that particular table, then I can only select the data, but I cannot modify the table. If I want to modify the table, then I need to grant the ownership or usage privileges. If I get these two privileges, then I am a kind of a owner for that object. I can do whatever I want for that particular object. So based on that functionality, they're saying when we are cloning inside the database, we have all kind of objects. So coming to the tables, you should need at least select privilege for the tables. If you have a select privilege for the tables, you can clone it. But coming to the pipes, streams, tasks, you need a ownership privilege. Even though you have a select privilege for the pipes, snow pipe, streams, and tasks, still you cannot clone those objects. If you have a ownership privilege, then you can able to clone the objects. Then all other objects, you need a usage privilege. Other than these things, file format, stages, and all is there, right? If you have a usage privileges, you can clone those objects. Is it clear or any doubt?
No, sir.
So cloning database clones all the schemas in database, all the tables in the schemas, and all other clonable object in the schema, which means when you clone particular database, it will whatever the clonable objects is there inside that particular schema, all the schemas which is inside in that particular database will be cloned. And clone database doesn't inherit the source permissions, but schemas, tables, views contained inside the clone database will inherit the source permissions. What is mean by source permissions? For example, when I create a particular database and I can give a certain access to the particular role, right? So now if I'm creating a demo database, I'm going to grant all the kind of a usage privileges for that particular database. So now this particular, whatever the permissions I have granted to that particular database, so those permissions by default won't come to the clone database. But inside the schemas and tables, whatever having that grants already, so the same grants will be applicable for the cloned database as well. But only for that particular database, that source default privileges won't come, but the remaining schemas and all, everything will come. Clone of clone is possible, which means once the table is cloned, still you can clone on the clone table. That is the possible in the cloning. So these are the key points we need to keep in mind about the cloning, and this is how the cloning will work, and these are the advantages of the cloning. Any doubts with respect to the cloning so far? What is mean by zero copy cloning, how it will work, and how it is going to be useful in real time? We have discussed it so far. Anybody has any queries, please let me know. Is it clear, or anybody has any queries?
No, sir. Yes, clear.
What about others?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Okay, good. So now, what is the limitations? So limitations in the sense, it is a kind of a important notes. When we are working with the cloning, we need to keep in mind these things. So one is always better to set a data retention time is a 1 day, and you can go with the cloning. Once the cloning is done, you can set back to the 0. If it is a kind of a sensitive information, if it is not a kind of not a sensitive information, it is not a crucial information, you can go ahead and you can directly clone it. And also when we are doing the cloning, don't try to execute the DML operations until the clone operation is completed. Once the clone operation is completed, you can go ahead and you can do the DML operations on the base table, so that you can avoid the unnecessary discrepancies in the data. And once you clone it, you can make it the time traveling 0 if the data is not that much important data. So that, you know, right, this time traveling also is associated with the cost behind the scenes. So whenever you set up a time traveling period 10 days, we have cloned that particular table and you are going to modify that clone table. So whatever the modifications you are doing on that clone table, since this time traveling is enabled, automatically the changes will be storing in the as part of the and a time traveling retention period. So, like if that particular data is not that kind of a sensitive information, happily you can go ahead and you can disable the time traveling so that you can do modifications or you can do whatever with respect to data and it will be helpful. So, any questions with respect to the cloning?
Sir, limitations.
Yeah, limitations. This is what it is a pretty much straightforward, right? So whenever you are cloning, if the data is not important data, you can disable the time traveling. How we can disable the time traveling? You can set a data retention time in a 0 so that you can disable the time traveling feature for the clone table. If it is not required, that is up to you call based on your requirement. The second thing is whenever you are cloning in a particular table, please don't try to execute any DML operations on the base table so that you can avoid the unnecessary data discrepancies. The third one is if that kind of a if you want to update something immediately, like you cannot wait until the cloning is completed, there is urgent requirement is there, you are going to update something. If that particular base table already the data retention time in days is set to some 10 days or 5 days or whatever it may be, then it's okay, you can go ahead and you can still update the data. But if for suppose there is no time traveling feature is enabled for the base table and you are applying the cloning on the base table but you want to update something on the base table, then you can set a time traveling period is 1 and then you can do the DML operations and all. Once the cloning everything is completed, then you can set back to 0 so that you can avoid the unnecessary data loss. So these are the key points we need to keep in mind when we are working with the cloning. So this is not applicable for all the cases. There are certain cases when you have come across these particular scenarios, at that time we need to do this. So we'll see quickly demo for this, then we'll get more clarity on this. Why this one is coming? Just give me a minute. Okay. So now we'll see cloning quick demo. I'm just creating a sample table here. In this particular table, I don't have any data. I'm just going to insert this particular data. Five records are there in this particular table. A total is 5. So now what I'm going to do, cloning this particular table. Whatever these customers are there, I'm going to clone this particular table. Create table customer copy clone customers. Now customer copy is successfully created. Now if you see the customers, you will have a 5 records. Now customer copy also will have a 5 records. So the same thing, when I initially clone, this is how I can clone, create or replace table name, clone, this is the source table. So here you can use the create or replace, it depends on you. I'm just simply creating this table. So now both are same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 records are there. Now check in both having the same data. This is initial cloning. right? So now I'm just going to change this particular customer address where name this guy. So now if you see this particular ID, this address is a Ahmedabad at this moment in the customer table. Customer tables and customer copy, which is a clone table. This also both having the same address place as a Ahmedabad. Now I'm going to change this particular address into the customers table, which means base table. I'm going to change this. If you see in this customer table, this change has reflected. Now if we go back to the clone table, still it will show as a Ahmedabad. It is not going to be reflected in the clone table. So this is what I'm saying. Both are worked as a independent objects. When you clone, it is a point in time. It will take the snapshot of the data from the base table. But post that, whatever the changes you are doing, both will work as a independently. So for suppose I want to update this particular customer copy for this guy. This address is showing as a Mumbai. I'm just updating as a Bangalore. Now we can go and you can check here. It will show as a Bangalore. But if you go to the customer table, it will show as a still Mumbai. Is it clear? Any doubt here? So whatever the modifications you are doing in the clone table, it won't reflect in the base table. Same, it is a vice versa. Whatever the changes are doing in a customer table, it won't reflect in the clone table. I'm going to drop the customer table. Now if you see customer table, sorry, this is customers, right? Just dropping the customers table does not exist, but still this table will exist. Is it clear so far? Any doubt?
Yes.
So whatever the changes you are doing in a both tables, both will work as a independently. It won't reflect the changes in each other. So now if you see customers, these are the two tables are available. So the fail safe, deleted true, deleted false. You can see which table is deleted, which table is active. And here time traveling and fail safe, we can able to see cloned group ID. Can see is it a transient table or not, we can see. So basically from this table storage matrix, what is the storage it occupied by that particular table, we can see this is we have discussed yesterday. So now if we see the show table, yes, I'm just looking for a particular column here. It will, is it cloned or what type, it will show somewhere. I think this is the clone group ID only. Nothing is showing. This is not a base table, right? This is a clone table, right? Based on this clone group ID only, we can able to get to know. So don't worry about, I'll share all the data dictionary tables, which is useful in real time end of the session. Okay. So now we'll see about the schema. So we have seen a table level. Now in this particular demo, we have a test schema is there. So if I'm going to clone this particular entire test schema, what will happen? We will see here. See, this is a created just now, and you can expand whatever the tables or everything is there. You can see here also. See here, internal stage, internal named stage, it won't reflect here. So this is what we have discussed, right? So what we have discussed here, internal stages, it won't clone. It is a non-clonable object. So when you clone this particular schema, that internal, these are my stage is internal. This is external stage, right? S3. It is related to external stage, external storage. But this is a internal stage. So that internal stage, these two are internal stages, are not reflect in the stages folder inside the schema. And if you are doing the database also, same. So inside the whatever the schemas are there, those all schemas will be replicated again. And the main thing here is, so this is a base one, this is a cloned one. So this is a kind of a complementary as of now. But if you are going to modify something inside this particular clone, then that is going to occupy the storage. So now for example, let me do one thing here. By default, all the retention time is 1 day bytes. Somewhere, no, this is also showing. So there is one more data dictionary table will be there. Let me check the table. So there you can able to see basically like what is the this particular how many bytes are it storing and all. So this is just a kind of active bytes is showing, but for the clone tables it won't occupy any additional space. That I'll check and I'll show you. But ideally, so that's how it will work. So when you clone this particular schema or particular database, it is not going to be occupy any additional space behind the scenes until you modify something on that particular table. So now based on this cloning using the time traveling, you can clone these tables also. So now for suppose, let me do one thing here. So this is a 27. It is a Wednesday, right? Wednesday and 27.
Thursday, sir.
Sorry.
Thursday.
No. So this is UTC, right? Today it will lag 1 day. Yesterday we did the same mistake. So yesterday we have given date today, but week we have given 2 days, but date was given previous day. That's where this timestamp was not working yesterday. So it is a kind of a small typo. So now if you see, when I'm checking the current timestamp, it is showing as a 27. Today is 28 in IST, but in UTC it is a 27. So we need to give the 27 day. So now this particular record got deleted. Now only 4 records I have. So now restore table from these customers before this particular timestamp. See, in this particular restored table, I have 5 records. But if you see the customer table, I have only 4 records. So we have seen right yesterday in the time traveling, I can only select the data, but I cannot create the table, right? I mean, I didn't try that. But by using this cloning option, you can restore the data into another table. Then you can drop this main table and you can rename this particular table so that you have the entire data set. So this is the kind of a, especially it will, I'll give one kind of a real-time scenario. So recently one of the person was new joining in the team. So what he did, like there is a table called Indian government database we use in real-time projects. So in that particular database, we have a kind of a table called as a customers who are having a branches across in India with particular their products. So now for example, take the same example. So they have across so many locations in this particular dmart, and they're maintaining the billing system for the all these dmarts, right? So in that billing systems, so they want to update for this particular location code only related to the Indian country. So when he is executing that particular query, so he updated that particular location code for all the countries, not only India. Okay. So now this requirement is related to only Indian country, but in where class he forgot to put the filter country for the country code, and it by default it got updated in that billing system for all the countries. That location code changed for all the countries. But actual requirement is we supposed to update or we supposed to correct the one particular location code in India. So now the thing is, you know, it is auto commit. So he just executed that update. So well, like we were seeing like for simple update why it's taking so much time, but after 5 to 6 minutes, it got completely updated the table. So now when the dashboards or reports pulling this information, immediately started observing the discrepancies in the numbers because that location code got changed when they were applying the logic on top of that. So this will be applying these logics. Somebody is on unmute, please go on mute. So now when we unexpectedly updated this particular thing, so during reports So we used to put, like when we are doing this aggregation calculations and all at a country wise, at location wise, we will use this particular location code as a filter condition, right? So due to this particular bug, entire dashboard or entire report got corrupted. I mean, they're able to seeing a different numbers. Immediately they started reporting issues. So because they panic, right? Immediately, suddenly something was happened and their dashboards are showing different numbers. Immediately they'll raise a concern. So we are kind of receiving a number of emails from the number of customers, different stores or different locations. They're saying we are seeing some discrepancy, we are seeing discrepancy. So then we were not able to identify exact what was the issue. So then we were seeing like what went wrong when that particular table got changed. We don't know, right? Like which team got exactly changed, who person this updated this. So if it is a kind of internally our team, we will cross verify with our team and we'll get to know. But like we will have different teams are involved and somebody got modified. So if you are the primary responsible for the taking care of this particular kind of activities and all, you need to investigate that issue. So then we started the investigation issue. So we have a kind of a data dictionary, how we are seeing the table metrics history, right? So similarly, we have a query history in Snowflake. So here we are seeing, right, query history. So in this particular query history, you will be able to see how many queries are executed recently, who is executed those particular queries. So now the same thing can be done from here also. So query history will be there, right? If you go to this particular query history, you can see all the queries executed by you. And if you want to see executed by everybody, you can filter out the all so that you can see all the queries executed by everybody. So then here you can filter out that user wise, or you can filter out this particular SQL text is there, right? If somebody modified with update, so we can able to see update table, this particular table billing system. So what we did from the backend, here we can apply the query logic for this particular query history, and we just put a filter condition where SQL text equal like billing system. Then we will be able to see all the queries executed by everybody. Then we are able to navigate that particular issue, who is executed that query, because here we're able to see that particular ID also, user who is executed that user. So now for suppose I want to see recently who deleted the particular customer ID equal to 1. So this is the query, who is executed, this guy, when is executed this particular time frame, and this is the query ID. So we are able to find out from this particular query history who is executed that, what went wrong. So then now we are able to find out the issue. Now we need to restore that particular data, right? So now it got completely updated. So we need to restore that particular old data. So what we did based on this particular timestamp, we just clone this table back. What was the data before this particular timestamp? Then in the clone table, we were able to see the actual data before update. So what we did, we just drop this actual table and we rename the clone table so that people can use that particular table. Or like if the time traveling everything is enabled, so you can just truncate that base table and you can insert the clone data into the base table so that all the base table privileges, it will be, everything will be remains the same and everybody will be able to access the data. So this is a kind of a real-time scenarios you might come across in your project as well. So if somebody was asking like where you have used this cloning, you can give this kind of example. So this is how it will resolve our real-time problems by using this cloning feature. So that's all from my end. If anybody has any queries, please let me know. So this query history and all, we have one session when we're doing the query profiling and all, how we can see what is the query is executed, what is the time is taking and all, how the data is scanning, everything we can see as part of that particular session. There you'll get more clarity on this. So that's all from my end. If anybody has any queries, please let me know.